Welcome to Scales Needed. You guys.
Oh my God.
Some crazy shit has happened.
Oh yeah.
Since
What
the
happened?
last
Armin got a
time.
haircut.
I've got 3 lines.
Yes.
Going
Which,
on.
you know, bad move. Camera side always when you're shaving stripes into your head.
It's
Or
like
your
a
beard.
it's like a little delightful secret that we're gonna share just between
Like the
four
fact that
of
I'm
us.
wearing no underwear right now.
No underwear.
No one has to know, but I know, and it makes my day feel a little bit. I don't know.
And now we all know as well.
Now everyone knows.
I spent the weekend in Mexico.
Oh.
Didn't get
cool.
diarrhea.
Yep.
High
Nice,
fives all
nice.
around.
But
There
you
you go.
did get kidnapped, though.
Yes.
Your parents
Correct.
fortunately have enough Fat Popeyes money to get you free.
I am
For
currently.
those of you who are just listening, Armin is now Armin the Nine Fingers. A little J.R.R. Tolkien reference there, integrated into a joke about.
That's
you
good.
being
That was a good
ransomed.
reference.
Yeah,
That was a good
yeah,
reference.
yeah.
Alright.
Really good.
Cliff and I are sick, so we're low energy right now.
I can
We're
tell.
Low energy pod.
I can tell. Cliff actually, I haven't seen him in the office all week, so I'm really glad that he made it in.
I was
he looks
worried
pretty
for a
fucked.
minute there. I was about to ask for proof of life.
Yeah, you should be worried. It was touch and go, but it's here's the good news though, is that being sick and not really being able to do anything, but living across the street from a movie theater was super convenient over these last few days because what was playing at that movie
Infinity
theater across
War.
the street. There we
Infinity
go.
War.
Isle of Dogs.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
I also saw Isle of Dogs again.
So
many things.
before we get into shenanigans with
Yep.
Infinity War, because we are almost guaranteed to spend the entirety of this episode talking about it, unless for some reason, I don't know. Either way,
Yes.
we're going to be talking about it first and foremost.
Don't worry, guys. And we're really going to be recapping a lot of backstories, all the Easter eggs you missed, really everything you missed in the preceding 17 films. We're really going to catalog all that stuff in tremendous detail. So you have that to look forward to.
I sure hope so. Before we get started, if you are interested in fitness things, like news or people doing fitness things, I guess, I don't know. We still do that
From time to time.
from time to time. But you can watch the vlog, Chasing Fitness. That's my vlog here on Flow. That is almost daily, 6 days a week. And I just, starting yesterday, today, tomorrow, I'm doing Armin's Fake Regionals 2018.
Yeah.
3 full days of fake regional workouts. So day
How
one,
have those been going?
great.
Yeah?
I think I've gotten some pretty good feedback, and I'm pretty excited about some of the workouts I wrote. And so tomorrow, day 2 is going to come out, and then the day after that, day 3 is going to come out, and it's we'll have the full weekend, and that way maybe next weekend, next week on Scales Needed, we can talk a little bit about the fake regionals workouts if the real ones haven't been announced yet.
And tune in. It's on Armin Chasing Fitness and periodic cameos by the Scale is Needed crew.
Correct.
You got your Kyle Bogart. You got your Cliff Bogart. And, you know, if you like those cameos, be sure to mention that in the comments. More Kyle. We want hashtag more Kyle, hashtag more Cliff. We're rigorously going to be counting those up, tabulating them, see who wins. So more Kyle, more Cliff. We could say more Daniel, but
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, yeah, it's fine.
Guess who's going to be bugging Armin now? It's quite a bit more.
Your
Often-
parents?
Oh, yeah.
Your mom? Yeah.
Yeah.
We already have some fire comments, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah. On the ground, apparently.
Thomas Coy says...
I miss Chase. Chase usually reads the comments.
I know, it'd be useful.
But now Chase is down here.
Yes. Under the desk.
Thomas Coy says, my neighbor also has a mullet. He's 7 years old, and his parents hate him. Well, I have one thing in common with that child.
You were also 7
Your
years
parents
old.
hate you?
I'm also your neighbor. Okay, yes. So I'm gonna count to 3, and the spoiler section. Should we try and get into talking about it without spoilers? No, fuck
No,
that.
fuck that.
Well, I'm gonna count to 3.
Everyone, literally, have you looked at the box office?
Yeah.
Everyone saw it.
Everyone on planet Earth has seen it. Chase has seen. Cliff has seen it 5 times. Chase is the only one who hasn't seen it, which is why he's not here right now. We want to spare his soul.
Yeah, we want to keep Chase pure.
So on the count of 3, from this point on, this podcast is going to be full of fucking spoilers. 1, 2, 3.
Dicks.
Holy shit! All of the dicks.
boy,
There's
yeah,
so
so
many
many
dicks in
dicks.
that movie.
There's a lot of
Like
dicks.
space dicks, Earth dicks.
Green dicks, purple dicks, yellow dicks, dicks that didn't even look like dicks. Some dicks had arms on them. It was like a walking person. But it was
You
actually
joke,
dicks
but in
with
fact,
arms.
there have been a series of Avengers-themed sex toys released. I find these things
I am
out.
not surprised.
I find these things out, as I always do, from Vice, because that's basically all they do as an
We fucked
organization.
the Hulk
has.
dildo, so you don't
didn't
have to.
Exactly. It's like, we did ketamine inside of a bouncy house, so you don't have to.
So I mean, tell me more about the sex
give,
toys.
give me some specs on the Hulk dick.
Apparently, the Hulk dick is pretty big. I'm saying. So there was a bunch of different ones, all Avengers themed. Obviously, they're not branded. Don't bring them up, Daniel.
No, I'm not bringing them
sure.
up. I typed in Vice Avengers,
yeah.
and the third thing to come up was not the article Kyle was referencing here. However, the third article to come up was there is definitely a hidden dick in this Avengers poster, right?
A hidden dick.
Hidden dick.
Bring that up.
I'm
Apparently, there were dicks. That I intuitively knew that dicks was a spoiler for Avengers.
Wow. Okay, so let's find out. Are there dicks in that Avengers poster?
Okay.
Are they just saying it because it's at Disneyland and Disneyland sometimes
See, that's
puts
what I'm
something.
wondering.
Okay.
No, there's a dick. That's a dick.
No, that's just a building.
That's a building.
It's a phallic
That's
building.
a phallic building.
As most buildings are, they're directly erected
Dick?
straight up.
That being said, it was something very similar to that. There was the controversy with the Little Mermaid VHS
Yes.
cover.
Oh,
back in the
yeah.
day, which
Yes.
apparently actually traced back
that
to
had
actually
a real dick on it for sure.
Yeah, that was actually one of the towers on the castle in the background was a wang, and some guy had put that in there intentionally. Fun.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's for little kids. They don't know what that is.
Infinity War.
I want to be where the people are. Want to be.
Where
Want to
everybody
see him
is
dancing.
like these buildings. That's definitely a dick.
That's definitely a dick.
Welcome to Is That a
cannot-
Dick, where we look at various things and we decide, is it a dick or
You
is it not
know,
a dick?
it would probably get better ratings than this show.
Probably.
Can we just call it Is It a Dick?
Is it a
and we'll
dick?
just keep
Yeah.
the podcast the same?
Dick or no dick.
Dick or no dick?
Featuring the Scale is Needed crew.
It's just no dick or no dick. It's just Chase choosing briefcases in a sequence until he opens one up, and then is it a dick or is it not?
Yeah.
Dick or no dick?
You are the weakest dick. Goodbye. Okay. I could not more strongly recommend people go see Infinity War.
Yeah, it was great.
It was super
Concurring.
fun.
It is I'd say one of the top 3 Marvel movies. Probably closely behind or followed or surrounded by the other Russo Brothers movies.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's the only negative things I've heard, and the reaction has been pretty universally positive. As I remember, I was reading a review that was essentially saying,
Sorry,
All
my
right.
chair
For
just-
those
my chair
listening-
just exploded underneath me. What the fuck is going on?
it's like, we have good audio levels, but the chair situation is beyond us. Okay, so the only negative thing I was reading this thing where someone was saying, you know what, this barely qualifies as a movie. It makes no sense if you see it outside of the
Oh, that was the
context
guy
of the
in
other
New
films.
Yorker.
Yeah.
I
And
think-
it's just like, motherfucker, it's like to criticize this film in all of the context that surrounds it. To criticize this film for not being a standalone movie is essentially equivalent to like picking a random episode of Breaking Bad and saying, "Who is this Walter White? He was never introduced. This feels like another chapter in a story that was already going on." It's like what I find very interesting about. We should probably pull that down before we get pulled off of YouTube. There we go. What I find interesting is that Marvel is doing something so interesting, or so new, that I find that critics don't quite know exactly how to critique this thing, because it basically is an episode, an ongoing episodic series that obviously we've had sequels in the past, but because of gaps of years or time there between sequels, there's been this idea that they need to stand wholly on their own as films, and that just doesn't apply anymore. And and anyway, the reason I'm saying all of this is because Infinity War continues that blurred line that we're now seeing between what was previously the gulf between episodic television and films. Now we have this weird thing that is, as much as like films have become wholly episodic in their nature, like, and then now we have long form storytelling on Netflix. Is it television? Is it not? They're just different presentational vehicles for the same thing. Anyway, I find all that very fascinating.
I think one of my favorite critiques of that New Yorker article was actually Anthony Oliveira, whose Twitter account I fucking love. He's a guy who has a PhD in like the Greek classics or whatever. Immediately critiqued it like, yes, no, because we totally spent, just pages and pages and pages of the Iliad describing who Apollo is. Yes. Because it's the thing where it's like, we're at the point where it's like, we're 18 movies in. You know who Star-Lord is. Mm-hmm. You know who Thor is. You know who Iron Man is. There's a shorthand for who these people are. Mm-hmm. And also when you go back, if you go back in time, there's a shorthand for just characters like these that appear in things. You don't have to go, all right, so my name is Tony Stark. Yeah. I am a genius inventor. Who does, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like, I know who the fuck this guy is.
And which is the fun thing about that is that it's essentially the same storytelling that's taken place in the comic books for years. And we finally have kind of, as much as the Avengers and the lead up to the first Avengers film was sort of the first little experiment, the first little foray into that kind of storytelling in movies, which is crazy. It's like now we've just made it to like the full realization of the vision. This is pure comic book storytelling where Red Skull can just show up and we don't need cool. It's Red Skull, cool.
Now they have established a real comic universe in the movies that now the whole nation is embedded in. And now that they're all embedded in it, silly criticisms aside, which those critics, I don't like talking about stupid people. What I think is the more interesting thing to talk about, though, is the good, normal people in the world and the national trauma that has occurred as a result of this movie. Because I've seen this several times now, and the trauma present in the audience as this ends
real.
is
Katie was
very, very real.
Yeah, Katie cried.
Oh, yeah.
Katie cried
real
hard.
Like that's two things I wanted to say. Going back to the Red Skull thing, I think it's really, really interesting and cool and like awesome that we are now at the point, we're still at the point where Red Skull showing up makes me go, oh, fuck shit. Like, that they can still surprise us with shit like that is great. Well, go ahead.
But I was going to say the interesting thing about that is that sometimes those little cameos are actually more exciting than they were in the movies that they took place in. Like Red Skull, it was a different actor.
Yes.
And then
that was not Hugo Weaving?
No, that's not Hugo Weaving. That's actually I forget the name of the guy, but apparently this dude is like a notorious like impressionist, like is very, very good. So he was doing his best Hugo Weaving.
He did a great Hugo
pretty good Hugo Weaving.
It's really fucking good. Because I had to I was looking for it in the credits. I was like, where's Hugo Weaving?
Yeah, I saw that. The only reason why I knew it wasn't him is because in the credits it was Red Skull credited as someone else. But like seeing Red Skull and knowing that this was like he was a Nazi bad guy. He was like a fine Nazi bad guy, I guess. But he really kind of was forgettable, other than we never really saw what happened to him. It's like, this is what happened
after
to him.
he got beamed away.
Yeah, he got the Tesseract up the ass.
Well, so anyway, the ending. Katie cried. Where was she crying? Like, what was the tipping point for?
Okay, so Katie and I came at this at two completely different angles. Katie is a casual Marvel fan. She's seen most of, but not all of the movies. And the ones that she's seen, she's really enjoyed. She loved the most recent Thor movie. She liked Black Panther a lot. Like, she's seen a bunch of these movies. She knows these people and she likes it. I come from like a comic book background. I've seen every one of these movies at least once. I really enjoyed all of them. I kind of had an idea that at some point in this movie, likely at the very end, Thanos is going to not only bring together all of the Infinity Stones, but also snap his fingers and do what he came to do, right? I knew that was going to happen. I did not expect what the last 10 minutes of the movie was, which was kind of like this scene of at random the Avengers dying, right? Turning to ash and literally floating away.
No music.
All
just
silent,
just hauntingly going away. Haunting with
the wind
with their
going,
best friends or whatever. Just noting with the ominous thunder in the background.
As not coming into this movie expecting it to be an exciting action movie, like a comic book action movie, and it's slowly devolving into, because even from the very beginning, spoiler alert, the very first thing we already did that Thanos kills Loki for realsies, like snaps his neck, kills Loki
very
for
unpleasantly.
realsies.
He kills him there,
and Katie literally turned to me and grabbed my arm and said, "What?" What?
And then at that moment, Armin, you go, "Oh, we're in store for an interesting experience.
This evening is going to be a fun time." No, actually,
that's
that's one of the things that I think is really interesting. Sorry about this, is that we are so conditioned for like the thing where it's like, oh, no one's gonna die, or if they die, they'll come back, or whatever. That I have been in my head, like it's like Loki went out really weird, like the way he went out, like seriously, like, and I get it. It's the whole thing of like we're out of options. I now have this knife, and I'll get. Oh no, now you're breaking my neck. Yeah. That like in my brain, I'm like, but that was like an illusion or something, or that was a way to get Thor where he's going, or whatever. But it's like. The better way of doing it is no, he's just fucking dead.
He's definitely dead.
Which is like interesting though, because it's the thing where it's like, once again in my head, and I think in a lot of people's heads, like over and over, how do we get him back? How does he come back around? And it's like, nah. Life is finite. You're done now.
But at the same time,
right.
He's maybe the only character in the film who actually is dead, because it's like beyond. Sure. It's the kind of thing where it's and that, if anything, is the little bit of criticism for the ending is just like I would love if the ending had found a way to actually make an impactful kind of thing where you really weren't sure who was going to come back and who wasn't and all of that, but like 10 seconds into the montage when Black Panther dies, you're just like, okay, it's just like,
do you really think it wasn't that impactful?
No, I think it was handled well cinematically, but it's handled well with a total confirmation that everyone who is disappearing. Now, for instance, if they had killed off some of the legacy Avengers who you know have been around for a long time, because let's add it up here. All the people who survived are essentially all of the original core Avengers. Yes. The Captain America, Iron Man, all these people, all of the people whom it might have actually been a possibility that this could have been their last film. They all fucking lived. All the people who already are in production filming the sequels to their movies are the people who died. So Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, all these people. And it's the kind of thing where even if you have no knowledge of the production context surrounding any of that stuff, when the moment that Black Panther disappears, like it kind of removes the tension.
But
that has not been the experience that's not been the experience in the theater.
I'm not saying it's not an effective ending. It is an effective ending, but any notion that anyone is actually like, man, they're all dead, they're not coming back, death is permanent, like that's clearly doesn't apply.
So here's the thing. I don't think they need to sell it as death is permanent. I don't think they need to sell. All they need to sell it as, because for you and for those of us sitting at this table, there won't be any moment at which we're like, oh fuck, they actually ended it with this character, because we know how this stuff works. We understand that there's we understand their contracts, we understand that there's more movies that are going to be coming out, more money to be made. All they need to do though is sell literally until May of 2019. They just need to sell the other 90% of moviegoers that are coming to watch this movie that this might be it.
No, well, that's not even it. Actually, like the thing, and this is the thing, like what I was getting at with the Loki thing was that it does set us up for like the later thing where it's like, like Loki is probably actually gone, right? And like I think that's interesting. But like pretty much everyone else, including Gamora at this point, is probably going to come back, and that's fine. And like, because like the thing for me is like, all right, it's not. It's removing yourself from the idea of like, yes, I know another Black Panther movie is happening. Yes, I know another Spider-Man movie. It's like, and like those things you said, it's an effective ending. It's cool, and like that's actually the critique that is really bugging me the most that I've seen around. It's like, yeah, well, they're all coming back anyway. It's like, well, sure, but you can say that of plenty of movies that you still enjoyed anyway.
They're all coming back anyway is not a valid criticism to say that it's a bad ending. The thing is, I would argue, and here is I think getting to the heart of it, that the ending is extremely effective for the movie, but it's not effective for any of the reasons that people are saying it's effective. In other words, everyone says, can you believe it has such a dark ending? It has such a downer ending. Everyone, even the 7-year-olds in the audience, know that Black Panther's coming back. What is actually fucking with people is not the fact that everyone, big air quotes, dies at the end. What's actually fucking with people is how that choice, and how that choice in relationship to Thanos, is handled cinematically. Because think about imagine an alternative downer ending. Everyone dies, and then big scary music plays as Thanos stands on a skull throne with his army of 6-armed demons, and he laughs as he holds his Infinity Gauntlet into the air, and he laughs, and scary music plays, and then you see Captain America and Iron Man somewhere else, and they're like, you know, I can't believe this happened. And then there's a little bit of a rally in some way that happens. Again, that being the ending, by the way, of Fellowship of the Ring, where it's like, what's his name?
Boromir, yeah.
You know, where Ned Stark dies, and then as a result, and then there's a little rally, and they come back. But there's two attributes there that aren't there. A, there isn't the rally, but that's cool. What's more interesting though about the ending is that they give. Throughout the whole movie, they're building towards it, but at the end, they give the cinematic weight and color to Thanos' victory, that not of a villain having killed everyone, but of a hero having won
what he wanted to do.
Yes, exactly. The final shots. The thing is, everyone could have evaporated, and if the that would not be an impactful ending that's kind of fucking with everyone's heads. What's fucking with everyone's heads is everyone evaporates for 10 minutes. It's very spooky. We all know they're coming back. Whatever. But then it's the fact that they echo the ending of the Infinity War comic book, which is Thanos on a farm somewhere, the sun setting, and they set it up earlier when he says the sun's setting on a grateful world. He sits down, heroes music plays, he smiles, and then we cut to black. The fact that they give that, now people kind of like, oh, he won, he did this. They want to give, they're essentially marshaling all of the tools that filmmakers have at their disposal to color the bad guy as if he is the good guy, as if he has won, to basically give it, because only when you color a hero for having won, or a hero as having won, do you get a sense of resolution. And that's what is fucking with people, is because when you give it the color of, like, oh, this is the hero's denouement, where, like, he is content now having accomplished what he wanted to accomplish, then it feels cinematically like real resolution at the end.
That actually, I want to use that point to segue into talking about what I think is probably the most impressive thing about this movie, is that it could have very easily been a fucking disaster of like so many different people, so many characters, so many different moments, each one getting cut short or some of the boring ones being too long. And yet the through line of making Thanos, essentially it being
it's Thanos the movie.
hero journey for Thanos, but told from the perspective of the Avengers, which makes it so fucking good. Like it flows together so well, even when you're jumping from planet to planet to world to different setting to different characters, because all of it is held together through Thanos as a character and his journey, and it's so well done. That to me is probably the single most impressive thing about this movie.
Well, absolutely big time. I mean, the main thing that's the structural glue holding this together, because we are jumping around between so many different characters and so many different locations, and none of our heroes, really, none of our the people we are used to seeing as the heroes in these other movies are given a hero's journey. They're not given a full hero's arc. Thanos has to, is one introduced here at the beginning. He's given his mission, his goal, and he has to do all of the sacrifices, take all of the losses to achieve his goal at the end. He is functionally and in every way the protagonist, the hero of this movie throughout. And you feel, the thing that really fucks with me is that you feel that he deserves to win. He's sacrificed more than anyone. He's worked harder than everyone. When there's a moment where he is confronting Doctor Strange before that battle goes off there, that where Thanos, when referring to Titan having been destroyed because no one had the will to act, and that he has the will to act, and that he will be able to, you know, save the universe, whatever. And Doctor Strange has a rebuttal. You'll find our will is stronger right before he's about to go on and attack them. And my main thought each time is that no, it isn't. Doctor Strange's will is not stronger than Thanos. There's none of these guys. No one cares about this more. No one has lost more than Thanos in this movie.
And that's the thing that keeps repeated. That's the thing that keeps being repeated over and over again. Is that the way in which the Avengers like earn the sad ending at the end is at every point where they're finally asked to make any kind of sacrifice, whatever, for the thing. There's Peter Quill's asked to kill Gamora, and he can't do it. Scarlet Witch / the rest of the Avengers are asked to kill Vision to save the universe. They can't do it. Later on, Doctor Strange is asked to kill Iron Man, and he doesn't do it for complicated reasoning. Well, but it's interesting because he looks into the future and all that shit. But what I would say is, what's more interesting about it, though, is that it actually, whereas the
Gamora doesn't sacrifice her sister.
Gamora doesn't sacrifice her sister, and then when Thanos is asked to do the exact same thing, he does it. Now, that's the main thing, because we have Captain America doing that refrain about like, we don't trade lives and stuff. So it's interesting that it establishes a moral playing field where like they can't do this thing, Thanos can, and therefore he wins. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that in terms of thematic territory to cover, because on some level, because in terms of pure pragmatism, like Thanos wins. Like they couldn't make the hard choices. He can make the hard choices. He could act to save his home world. He could act to do all of these things. They couldn't. So it'll be interesting to see where they take that territory thematically in the next film, just to see, because it's like, okay, well, they're weak and can't make hard choices on a pragmatic level, but what does that earn them in terms of, you know, cosmic spiritual points that they ultimately win, that they ultimately can do all of these things. And yes, Doctor Strange can see the future.
But that's the really interesting thing about the Doctor Strange thing, is because, you know, he's a blah, 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 he sees the future, whatever, but he gives Thanos the gem, because obviously he sees something as like, okay, Tony Stark needs to be alive for us to win in the future if we're going to do that, right? But the other thing is, if he's seen the future, he also knows that if I do this, yes, Tony Stark will live, but I will die. And he, like, so ultimately, he is the only one with the fucking stones to do the thing that needs to be done. As he continually states over and over and over again, like, if it's a choice between, you know, you or the kid or the stone, it's the stone, you know, whatever. Until it gets to the point where he has seen the future and is like, cool, I have to give up the stone and now die in order for anything else to happen. Which I think, that makes Doctor Strange, I think, one of the more interesting characters in this movie, in that he actually is the only one who has the will to do anything.
Yeah, he was better in this movie than he was in his own movie.
I know. It was
right?
Yeah. It's like Doctor Strange is a way better character in this film than he was in the last one.
It's almost like the Russo brothers are better at directing all of these actors and characters than any of the other directors.
They do Guardians as good or better than Guardians.
They do Guardians
all
just as well as Tim Gunn does.
Oh, and by the way,
Tim Gunn?
Yes. James Gunn.
Make it work.
Make it work.
I actually would love to see the Tim Gunn directed Guardians.
Can I say that my statement wasn't false? They do direct the Guardians better than Tim Gunn does.
One other thing, just regarding the quipping interaction between all the various groups there, just that we see throughout the movie. That is one thing that the first time through kind of struck me as feeling a bit off, just because the sense of impending doom and death and destruction from Thanos coming through, broken up with these bits of silly little humor throughout, felt like tonally off. It started in such a dark place. It's like, can we really do this silly quipping stuff and be okay with it? But realizing that by the end, every one of the characters, all of them, have little fun moments throughout. They really work hard to make sure, even if it's random, even if it's Drax eating a bit of candy from a bag there, have little fun moments that show a little bit of their personality, that make you like them. Just so that we can kill them. Just for that last 10-minute sequence where in silence with no music, as their loved ones watch them with tears out of their eyes, we watch them die.
The movie
By the way,
was
one of the things that I picked up on the second time viewing it that I didn't really pick up on the first time, when Peter is like, I don't feel so well. That's his spider sense telling him, "Oh, you're about to die."
That's Spidey's,
which means he has the most fearful experience of literally anyone, because his brain and his powers are screaming at him, "You're about to turn into ash, and there's nothing you can do about it."
I don't want to go.
The movie is much funnier than I expected it to be. In fact, it was funny enough that I was laughing so hard I was missing lines. I felt like I was missing things that people were saying. Like I feel like I haven't seen it a second time. I 100% will see it a second time. But yeah, I think
They still try to see it early while they still have fresh audiences
Yes.
there who are still
That is
traumatized
fucking
by it.
key.
It's been really
it's a good
great.
point.
Yeah.
Last time I saw it, I had some young people on either side of me that clearly hadn't seen it before based on the reactions, and it was just so beautiful. I
No.
watched it through them. Watched
No,
it through their
the
eyes.
second time I saw it, I had like sitting next to me. The kid must have been like maybe 8 years old or so,
no.
which is like literally the perfect age. Oh my god! It was just like it's like, and you don't know what contracts are either. So it's just this thing where it's like the kid was afterwards like, is that it? And the mom had to be like, there's another movie. It's okay.
I thought that Josh Brolin,
Yeah.
not
We got-
James. I
not
thought that
James.
Josh Brolin. I thought that Thanos is single-handedly the best bad guy Marvel has ever come up with.
Yeah, nothing's
Not even close.
Yep.
Also, they did the best job of making him powerful.
Yeah.
I think because right from the get-go, the first thing that happens is basically like a karate match, a kung fu match with fucking the Hulk.
Yeah.
Which, like, I mean, I've never imagined seeing gigantic Titanic-sized.
Which, by the way,
Humanoids.
I love. Like I've seen a couple, like, I don't know, let's say not tuned in, like critics, like New York Times level kind of people who are like, what's the deal with, we still don't even know why, like, the Hulk, won't Hulk out, or I was like, cause he's scared. Like, it's like literally
He just
set
got
up
his
in the
ass
very,
kicked
yeah,
in
he got
the
his
first
ass
scene of
kicked,
the movie.
and so he doesn't want to deal with it.
Where
That-
the
it's one of those
last
things
time
where
we
it's like-
saw Hulk,
Yeah.
he was kicking everyone else's ass.
Which is an interesting choice. It's a kind of thing where in every trailer you saw for the film, you see Hulk there, they're in Wakanda during all the battles when they're running in, and then in the film version,
In fact,
that CGI version of him has been replaced with Bruce Banner wearing the Hulkbuster armor, and it's interesting because it feels very much to me like one of those things where Hulk was supposed to totally be there the whole time. It was written in, and then in the script writing process for the second film, they're like, we don't really have much for Bruce Banner. Like, well, what if he can't transform into the Hulk, but then he can? But that doesn't make sense because he transformed 7 times over the course of the first film into the Hulk. And like, well, what if after the first time, when he loses to Thanos, what if he doesn't transform again? And they retroactively like, cool, all we need to do is put Mark Ruffalo in a black background and have him go, it's great to be in this Hulkbuster armor.
I'll call bullshit on that.
Yeah.
Basically, just because of they previs these action scenes, right? Like they're working on these way before they even shoot half this shit, and a lot of the Hulkbuster armor stuff like relies on in fact just literally even killing one of the Black Order guys relies on
that's
it relies on the
silly because-
Hulkbuster armor being there.
Yes, that's fucking silly. But these action sequences are 100% CGI, and they are worked and reworked 1,000
And
times.
also,
And there would
in the
have been
trailer
no reason
behind us
not
right
to
now
include Hulk
that has
in that
that has the Hulk showing up and everything.
Yeah.
There's also Hulkbuster armor.
I think it doesn't really fucking matter.
It doesn't fucking matter, but
Because
it's
It
fine.
doesn't matter. Well, and I will tell you specifically, if you look at the first trailer, it's the Hulk, and you look at the subsequent trailers that were released, it's only then that the Hulkbuster armor shows up. It's fine that they're both in the same trailer, but the fact is, like, the fact that they had to engineer some way for the Hulkbuster armor to like defeat one of the Black Order guys could totally be done later.
Sure.
And I think that in all likelihood, this is a change because I'm not sure because boy howdy did they use that shot of the Hulk in Wakanda a whole bunch in the original trailer.
Well, my understanding is they shot them both at the same time.
No.
Have they-
that
Not
was the
all of
original plan, but then later now they're going back to shoot more because it was too
Okay.
much or something like that.
That makes
I don't
sense.
know.
I thought they'd already finished shooting both, and they're just working post production on.
They are shooting the other one now.
they're shooting it.
or have
Interesting.
completed a lot of the shooting now. There are on-set photos, I think, for some of the new stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I thought so. Going back to
There it is.
Thanos and Josh Brolin, I thought that 1, Thanos was fantastic, best bad guy. 2, they did a great job of showcasing the power that he
You
had.
can just address and move on, which is if it's really about limited resources, and that's the reason he wants to kill half the universe, then couldn't he use his god thing to just make more? To make
Energy
more
cannot
stuff?
be created nor destroyed.
So it's just it's
can
like
only
couldn't
be
he just
changed.
make more burgers and planets and stuff? If
So-
something again, but I'm fine with that. It's just it's one of those things that points out the difference between the comic books version where he's motivated by something totally not practical, is why he's doing it, versus this new, like, weird, slightly almost like ecological issue thing that he's doing or whatever, and it's fine. But the other thing is that we just had a film with Cate Blanchett playing basically the god of death, and so I had this, and still I'm holding out hope in the next film that we'll see Cate Blanchett return, and that it is in fact about a romance between Thanos and death on some level, because I kind of thought that they would. Like, it would be a surprising cameo of Cate Blanchett returning, and we'd realize that that's what his motivations were about or something, and that never happened.
Two things. One, that's the easier one, and I honestly don't think it could happen, and that would be awesome, and I'd be about that. Like, it's like very, very cool. Two, the other thing being, this is the out there weird, like, if contracts worked out and that merger went through in time and, like, they worked out all their shit theory, is if you remember when Peter Quill is on Titan, he's got his little, like, yellow highlighter thing out, and he's like, oh, the axis is off, and this is all fucked up, and whatever. And we never actually see what really happened to Thanos' planet. The silly out there won't happen theory is, oh shit, it was Galactus. Which would be fucking cool.
And then you could have, like, Silver Surfer or something.
Exactly. Like, if at the end of this next movie, a dude on a silver surfboard just shows up out of nowhere, I will lose my shit. I will never find it again.
I don't think that's ever gonna, like, the acquisition of one studio by another studio is gonna take I think a long.
No, it takes a while. It's gonna
take.
Well, it's gonna take multiple years, and that's the thing. It's like the thing that is interesting about it is, like, obviously they've already worked with Sony on Spider-Man. Fox seems to have no idea what the fuck to do with Fantastic Four, but they're holding a death grip on the X-Men. And so, like, the thing is, like, okay, if they were to bargain, like, do a Spider-Man kind of bargain, if we can't figure this thing out, what would they bargain on? It would be Fantastic Four and the subsequent characters. And they've already worked with Fox on, in the Captain Marvel movie, Skrulls exist, which is a thing that they would not have been allowed to do if they did not work with Fox on that.
Which brings us around to the the post credits stinger,
the post all the credits,
stinger, where it's
the space beeper.
He pages Captain Marvel to show up, so which is cool. I'm feeling quite a bit of kind of delay on the whole Captain Marvel thing, because first off, who cares? It's not a character anyone has heard of, and they've just been putting off this for so long, teasing her. It's the big post-end credit sequence and things. I mean, I love Brie Larson. I'm excited about the movie, but also it's just like there's a lot of ground to cover in terms of making people give a shit. Oh, by the way, side note, the new AntMan and the Wasp trailer is a really badass.
Oh, heck yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
You should watch
and
it.
it is definitely set before Infinity War, although it'll be interesting to see how they wrap up the end there into the context of Infinity War, probably.
It's definitely the first time I've watched a trailer for any of the Ant-Man movies so far and been genuinely excited to see the thing. So it definitely gets you. It gets you there. It'll get you there.
Okay,
I'll
keep that in mind.
Yeah.
The Captain Marvel thing, I don't know anything about Captain Marvel. Like, I had to actually Google who she is and what she does.
It's a long and complicated thing. I definitely don't want to explain on this podcast.
No, the thing with Captain Marvel that I think is interesting is it's, like, in the comic book realm, right? Like, similar to the Guardians story, in that Guardians weren't super popular for a long time. Like, and then they became more popular, and then all of a sudden there was a script for a movie, and then they made a movie, and then they exploded, and now there's, like, Guardians comics everywhere, and whatever. Captain Marvel is kind of the same way. Captain Marvel was a nothing character for a long time. There's like, she shows up, she's one of the Avengers, it's whatever. But then there was a run on the comic where she became very, very, very popular. Like, where it's just like, it was a very good run on the comic, and then now there's a lot of Captain Marvel comics, and it's been a push for a while of like, why aren't you guys making a movie about this very popular character? And I think it was one of those things where it's like, we didn't expect her to be this popular, fuck. And so that's why the build.
I know they had to hurry. They had to pump that movie out in the 7 years they've been anticipating this. Captain
and that was
Marvel
the thing. Is
movie.
I think for a very long time they had no fucking plans to make a Captain Marvel movie. So. Like, I think a lot of it is predicated on the fact that the character became very, very popular unexpectedly.
So what are the? By the way, did we go back and see whether any of us were right with our guesses as to who dies?
We were all wrong, I think.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and that's one of the things I was disappointed
Did anyone
about.
say Spider-Man?
Maybe, but that's the thing is that did you?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I feel like it's something I would have said.
I was right in my
cheeky
prediction
bastard.
that all I've heard this week are people
Empire
saying
Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back over and over again.
That is correct.
So that is, but that kind of goes without saying. The but that's the one thing I was disappointed about is in order for the ending to stick, like they had to kill. I think in terms of the deaths, I think the ending is fantastic for other reasons, but in terms of the deaths, they had to kill Captain America or Iron Man because genuinely we don't know if Chris Evans or Robert Downey Jr. would come back for another film or if that was the end. And there is not one character in the movie you can point to and say, with the possible exception of Vision and Loki because whatever, but there's no one of the other heroes that you can point to and say. Oh gee, I wonder if this is the end. So, oh geez.
So where do we think it's going from here?
Well, that's the thing that I think is really interesting is this next movie could be fucking weird. Like one of the big...
It has to be, right?
Well, like one of the... I was having a discussion with a friend of mine the other night about this who's a huge fan of Cosmic Marvel. And like he immediately latched on to the thing where, when Thanos snaps his fingers... and then everyone goes away, like we see, little baby Gamora. And my initial thought was, oh, shit, okay, so that's, like before we even saw that it was baby Gamora, I was like, oh, it's death. Death is there, right? And obviously it wasn't. But then, he is talking to baby Gamora, all the yellow light is everywhere and et cetera. And my friend immediately was like, oh, yeah, no. Gamora used to be trapped within, like, the Soul Gem. That's a thing that happened, like, in the comics and shit.
Huh.
And so, one of the things floating around there is like, did everyone die, or are they all trapped in the Soul Gem now? Like, or is that the pathway to Gamora getting back? Will Gamora fight from inside the Soul Gem? Like, are these things that will happen? Which is something that's interesting. The other thing being, I really hope, and this is just whatever. This thing I hope that there is a very long time skip. I hope it is at least a year of everyone having to deal with the fact that we fucking lost.
Yeah, I think that the follow-up is going to be quite a bit more of a straightforward movie than this, because this is a very weird movie, Infinity War, where we're jumping around to a whole bunch of different of our protagonists scattered around all over the place in separate stories, having fun little personality moments and quipping with them, but really where Thanos is our protagonist throughout. At this point, what it's done now by the end is it's hollowed out many of the newer characters and left us with our core Avengers here left. And it's basically going to be our core Avengers, from a point of ultimate loss, having their, finally, hero's journey, finally to the end, to bring everyone back, that they're going to have to make real sacrifices in order to do so, and that some of them are going to have to really die for reals in order to finally bring everything back to defeat Thanos now. I think it's going to be, at least in terms of how the narrative plays out, quite a bit more straightforward than Infinity War, despite all the weird things they might see and encounter.
And what I mean by that is, I think the concepts and the things will continue to get weirder now that we're bought in on an all-powerful glove that can fucking, do all this shit. But I think you are right. It's going to be very straightforward on the hero's journey and et cetera, and we're going to get the things that they obviously left out in this movie, being, the reunion of Cap and Iron Man, fucking saying Avengers Assemble will be a thing that will finally happen.
Hopefully.
The Hulk will get his mojo back.
Cap getting his shield back. I'm sure there are plenty of other things as well, but there are moments that were definitely left out of this movie so that there is that catharsis in the next act.
It was cool. Noseless, big lips wizard man.
Oh yeah,
he was cool.
He was awesome there. That's what's
Ebony Maw.
Ebony Maw.
That's
a cool ass metal name.
Yeah.
His introduction is so goddamn great, where we hear his voice saying all this stuff, saying all this religious stuff as pertaining to Thanos, and we see feet, which are real feet from a real person walking over bodies, panning up on the real feet, the real body, to a damn CG head that's so cool and badass, which was a beautiful, beautiful way to introduce that, and goddamn is that guy awesome.
He just looked cool.
Yeah, the CG in this movie is about the best ever.
Well, the thing is, there's some things that are just arresting in that how good they look. Like Josh Brolin's face for most of it. Ebony Maw's face, and then on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, there's the other one of like the other children of Thanos. There's the female one, Proxima Midnight, who just who looks like one of the like CGI orcs from like the Hobbit movies. That's all, you know. It's like she looks.
Why do they all have such great metal names?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is like, so the Black Order directly ripped from the comics. Actually, one of my favorite things was the creator of the Black Order for his Avengers run. Like, a lot of people gave him a lot of shit about it because it's weird and out there and involves Infinity Stones. It involves alternate realities, and it's a weird as fuck. It's great, but he tweeted out the like a couple weeks ago or whatever. You know, man, you know, I used to get all this shit when I was writing Avengers for not being enough like the movies, and then beneath the tweet, just a picture of the Black Order, and it's just one of those like, fuck you. But like, yeah, going back to the metal names, they are Corvus Glaive, Proxima Midnight, Ebony Maw, and Cull Obsidian. Just all badass metal names.
That is pretty badass metal names.
Yeah, and I don't know, that part of what I liked about the movie, and I've heard some people critique it's how fast it moves. I love it. I absolutely love it, because it's like we jump into the movie, obviously, on the spaceship, and we got your Thanos and your Hulk, and that's cool, but a lot of things have rollicking openings. And then right about the moment we think, okay, so Bruce Banner's arrived at the Doctor Strange's pad,
right?
And it was the time to chill and start getting introduced to new stories. People start running down the street, and I think that's the moment where assholes would say, oh, this movie's moving too fast, because it is jarring. It's not the pace or the cadence that one would expect out of these movies. And instead, but I absolutely love it, because you go from settling into kind of a sense of, okay, people are going to start talking to each other. We're going to jump around between a few different locations as people begin to inch towards some kind of action or some kind of central thrust of it. But instead, the whole movie has this breakneck, breathless pacing where stuff happens with Thanos, and then all of a sudden the people, they're there. They're not there 30 minutes into the movie. The fucking Ebony Maw and the other guys show up like immediately in New York. Yeah, it's like we're in New York. And then beyond that, what actually takes place in that opening sequence is fucking great. That entire sequence where they're all trying to fight the so-and-sos, and he's just doing the things. It was just a fantastic and creative action sequence that then turns into this amazing CGI set piece of Spider-Man and Iron Man riding the ship up into space and the whole thing, and that's 5 minutes in, and then it parses out the rest of the getting to know you bullshit for later points in the film.
So two things on that. One, this is a 2-hour and 45-minute movie that does not feel like it in the least. It's crazy how like quickly it moves and how well it connects in that way. Two, another criticism, like you bringing up that initial, that initial battle or whatever, is everyone being like, well, didn't Spider-Man like say that he didn't want to be an Avenger or whatever? Like, that's one of those ones I'm just like, you are nitpicking for reasons that are beyond me. It's like, would Spider-Man ever at any point be like, oh yeah, so I said I was just gonna fight burglars, so I'm just not gonna go to that spaceship over there? Like, really, like, honestly, if you're thinking about it, it's one of those things. I just wanted to point that out and just be like, fuck anyone who says that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can nitpick a lot of different things, but nitpicking makes you a jackass.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna do that.
Fuck you.
I'd say, overall, the impression that this is going to leave on the culture in the world is, one, since it's the most popular movie, biggest opening weekend, everyone's going to see it, all of that. Combination of something that big and entertaining, there's also that emotionally impactful, is just gonna leave a I don't know.
It'll definitely outpace. My hope is that it ultimately outpaces Force Awakens, because unlike Force Awakens, it's a good movie that's worth seeing multiple times.
Yes.
Correct. Yes. Also, unlike The Last Jedi. It is actually a movie.
Can we just look at Avengers for a second, and then look at it, and then I want everyone to look at Last Jedi, and can we just stop? Can we cut the bullshit now?
Yeah, I just feel like
point
Rian
at that
Johnson,
and say, like, that's a good movie.
Rian Johnson probably
where we have
sat
to
in the theater.
where we have to explain why it's good. If you think about it from this angle, it's kind of good. I mean, it's not entertaining to watch or in any way emotionally impactful or in any way any of those. It's not like good, but it's good if you come at it from a certain angle, and I feel that everyone should come at it from that angle because reasons. It's like now we can point at Infinity War and say, like, no, that's a good movie.
Yeah, Rian Johnson got his his digital ticket. He went to the movie theater, sat down, and like 2.5 hours later, just like, oh no.
Yeah. And I must say, this is really, as I'm thinking about it,
that's
the
fine.
perfect. This really is the perfect blockbuster. As I'm thinking of it, does everything you should do. It you laugh.
Yep.
You cry. Yep. You are excited on the edge of your seat.
You're amazed by the visuals.
Yeah.
Of
Amazed
what
by
you're
the
seeing,
spectacle of what you're
experience
seeing.
Of it, exactly.
You're enraptured by the communal experience of the audience that you're with there. It really is everything you could possibly want out of a goddamn good blockbuster movie.
Yeah. It subverts your expectations in a way that is intriguing and exciting.
Yep. I mean, just the fact that, like, I was confident going in that it was going to be good. It was going to be a good movie. It was going to be good things. But merely just the fact that they felt safe enough to make the choice to say, like, Thanos is basically going to be the protagonist of this movie, and we're going to dive. It's going to be a film that you're going to even experience at points subjectively from his point of view, kind of get all up in him, and then. We're not going to puss out at the end of that. We're going to take that choice all the way through the end of the movie. So we're going to take that choice all the way through how we handle the ending, how we handle portraying the deaths of all of our beloved characters. We're going to commit to that, and then to make that radical of a choice, make that choice actually work, and then in addition to making that choice actually work, do all of the things that we were expecting out of the movie, which is to feature all the people we love, and it's funny, and it's full of amazing action, and it's all of those other things,
Yeah. I think I was watching. I want
to put Kevin Feige in charge of the Star Wars universe.
No, they fucking don't.
Oh my
my
god.
God.
Oh
No.
my
Like,
god.
at what point do they need to? At what point do they need to oust Kathleen Kennedy? How
They
many
need to do
bad
that,
decisions?
yes.
Oh
But
my
I
God.
don't want Kevin Feige to ever leave the characters that I love.
That's right. I don't want him
even
splitting his effort
deal-
there, yeah.
I can't even. Okay. Jesus Christ! Just the thought of Star Wars being a tenth as good as. But I was watching.
They need to put Kevin Feige in charge of the Jurassic World universe.
There we go.
There you go.
I was watching Half in the Bag. They were talking about this, and one of them had probably the single best way of describing the last 6 months of my existence, which is somehow in the past 6 months, Star Wars: The Last Jedi was successfully able to ruin all of Star Wars. Like, I could not give a shit less about any of the remaining Star Wars movies. And yet now I'm very excited for what the next Avengers movie is going to be.
Yeah.
It's like completely flipped where I was like, oh, Avengers will be pretty cool, but fucking Star Wars, man. Now it's like, I don't really ever want to watch another Star Wars movie.
Well,
but Avengers, bro.
Here's the thing: is as much. This is the funny thing that I know. This is what and I thought about this afterwards. We never discussed it on the podcast, but it was when the Solo trailer came out, and it didn't inspire any action from me. And what I mean by that is the trailer was fine, it was good, it was bad, whatever it is. It's a trailer for a movie, who cares? But it's just like it didn't occur to me to share the trailer with people or to go to the Facebook feed of my friends who I know are big Star Wars fans to see how they would react, It basically, I've gotten to the point where a Star Wars trailer, and this is perhaps the biggest indictment I can say of everything up to this point under the Disney Kathleen Kennedy era, is the trailer came out, I watched it, and then I just did nothing. Like, I was not even. I realized this a month later, thinking back on it. I was not even curious to see what people's reactions were. I wasn't curious. I am so disengaged with the idea of it. It feels so. It just feels. Star Wars feels so insignificant now. Whereas, by contrast, 2 days ago, and this is occurring to me now, when I saw the new AntMan and the Wasp trailer, I was so excited that not only did I tell people about it, but I then went on Facebook and I was like, and I Googled AntMan and the Wasp, and I'm like, how are people reacting to this? Because it just, but the fact that I feel that way about AntMan and the Wasp, and the same feelings were not inspired by the Solo trailer, because I'm just so fucking over it, is, I think, is just, it is what it is.
And that's not to say there weren't. That's not to say there weren't bad movies in the Marvel, in like the MCU leading up to this. There were some movies that were pretty garbage. I mean, just weren't up to snuff.
Yeah.
But whatever they've done in maybe 4 years ago, they just kind of like tightened up the screws they needed to tighten up. And the movies that have come out of that process, basically the last 4 movies they've released, have all been so fucking good.
Yeah.
And it's like you almost can't see it falling apart, at least for the next few movies until this run is over, where they've gotten what their brand is so well, and they've gotten how to tell their stories so well that even when they take a huge risk, like biggest blockbuster movie of all time, biggest experimental movie in this format of all time, you just budget to just take a giant risk and be like, you know what, we're gonna make the bad guy the good guy in this movie. How's that feel?
Yeah,
well, it's tremendously interesting still to me that like it's like. By the way, while you guys are still wrong about The Last Jedi, the thing that what Kyle was saying about Solo
says no one.
So, yeah, fuck you. No, but like what
That's
Kyle
how
was
you know
saying.
you're right, by the way. That's the only response.
Because I want to move on. The thing with Solo that I remembered distinctly was sitting in a meeting the next day and like after the Solo trailer had gone out and going like, oh, I guess I should watch this. And like the fact that is now a thing that I'm thinking about, like especially like the Star Wars spin-off-y movies or whatever is insane. Compared to watch now the new Ant-Man and the Wasp trailer on Twitter. Immediately like, where's my headphones? All right, fuck, let's watch this right now. It's like that I think is like a really interesting thing, and it's the same umbrella, the same Disney umbrella, where Star Wars has not learned the lessons of early Marvel, of like let's fuck with everything in a way that
except for that really botched attempt to add like Marvel humor into the beginning of Last Jedi. It's like, I'm calling for your mom or something. Is this how you guys do it over at Marvel? No, it's not how they do it. Okay, well I'm gonna give it my best shot.
It's like this is not you auditioning to be one of the Guardians of the Galaxy, Oscar Isaac, Poe Dameron.
Much as he would prefer to be in that franchise, yes,
and not be Apocalypse.
Oh shit!
Which is another movie with a giant purple bad guy, which failed miserably.
But by the way, and here's the important.
Did everyone see that movie? By the way,
No,
I
I
did
did
not.
not.
I saw it on an airplane.
But here's the thing: is that it's also what I want to make sure that it's like Marvel needs to get credit for what they're doing, because we've seen other seemingly impenetrable like houses, production companies who like take Pixar as an example. Pixar just was knocking it out of the park over and over again until they weren't. And so we're potentially going, there's no guarantee that because of the goodwill and the story, and obviously Pixar was doing one-offs and this is serialized storytelling, whatever, but there are no guarantees. There's no guarantees that this is going to continue to go on forever in this same way. So the fact is that every time they pull it off, it's important to remember that they're having to essentially, despite the fact that it's all characters we've seen before and they're all coming together, they're still having to make it work from scratch every time. It's like it's a hard feat, and they managed to have found a sauce.
Age of Ultron.
Yes. Well, yeah, exactly. Age of Ultron and some of those things. But they fucking are nailing it, and that's awesome, you guys.
Agreed. I am quite excited to see. I mean, between now and then, we have 2 official MCU movies. Between now and then being Avengers 4.
Yeah.
2 MCU movies. One is Ant-Man and Wasp, which comes out later this year.
Super jazzed. It's this summer. Yeah.
This summer, and then Captain Marvel, which comes out like 2 months before.
Yeah, it's March of next year. It's in the Black Panther spot.
So
yeah, it's crazy they didn't get that goddamn Ant-Man trailer up before Avengers.
Oh no, I think they did. I think they did the
Yeah.
absolute right thing, which was everyone's jazzed about Avengers. Holy shit! Now I care about Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, because I guess that's the thing. It's like
I mean, yeah, it still seems like a hell of an opportunity
there's a
to
reason
show a
you
lot of
have-
people that trailer.
but would you have like dropped everything to watch the Ant-Man and the Wasp trailer if it came out before Avengers, in the same way you did after seeing Infinity War, going,
now
oh
you're
my god, I'm
thirsty
in
for
love
that
with
Marvel
this.
dick.
I must say that, after the ending to Infinity War, people are just going to be super obsessed with every bit of news and information from every little Marvel thing that's coming out. People will see Ant-Man and the Wasp just hoping to see a glimmer of hope or a clue in there about how they'll solve the Infinity War situation.
It's such a weird thing because I don't want it to completely overtake the story or anything like that. But it's either either at the very end if they're being really ballsy and it works for the story, or it's going to be mid credits or whatever, just Michael Douglas's hand going. Shh, 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 shh. It's like, oh no.
It's interesting that the Captain Marvel movie is taking place in the 1990s, and I think that a big part of that has to be the fact that they just had a release schedule in place, and they were like, and then they looked at Infinity War Part 1, Infinity War Part 2, where they were planning Captain Marvel, and went, damn it. Ah, shit. Like, we're kind of killing off the whole world here in this movie, and then we're going to keep everyone in suspense, but we kind of want to release the Captain Marvel movie. Damn it. How do we put... All right, guys, I'm going to throw this out here. No bad ideas in the brainstorming session. What if it took place in, like, 2004? 2004? Well, 2004 doesn't really... What do you mean? Like, that's like 10 years ago. What if, all right, let me put it this way. What if the 90s? All right, that was the last decade that actually had an identity. Let's throw it in there. As close to present as you can still do and make a period film actually feel like a period film, because, you know, they'll be listening to Salt and Pepper and other things.
Nirvana.
And yeah, literally the last decade that actually could still feel like a period film.
Whatever, man. I'm like super jazzed because it allows us to bring back Lee Pace as Ronan the Accuser.
That's true, yeah.
Which he will be in that movie, and that's exciting for me.
Yeah, I actually really loved his bad guy.
Yeah.
And well, that was actually one of the things, and I'm so glad Thanos worked out as well as he did, because I remember, like, in the scene at the end of Guardians 1, there's, like, Lee Pace, and then there was Josh Brolin's still not fully formed Thanos. It was bad CG, and he's sitting in a chair being a big cartoon guy, and I'm like, the guy down there is way cooler than the guy in the chair.
It's funny because it wasn't because it was Sean Gunn doing all the mocap for it, and then afterwards, like in the middle of production, they cast Josh Brolin, and they're like, "Quick, put his face on there! Put his face on there! Quick, fast, fast, fast!"
Yeah. And so it's one kind of thing where it's just like it'll be cool to see him come back though in the past, because he was badass. You know, complete coincidence. I watched the first episode of *Halt and Catch Fire* last night. I think that show's over now. It was like 4 seasons.
It's over
anyway,
now, yeah.
Lee Pace stars in it. He's fucking great, man. He's a good actor, that guy. We should see more from him. More from him is all I'm saying. Lee Pace.
The official skills needed stance on Lee Pace.
More.
Lee Pace. More. Anthony Hopkins should be dead.
We're not going to talk about Westworld.
Nope.
We've made an editorial decision to try not to talk about it.
Well, that's the thing. Well, that's the question is, are we going to weigh in the comments below, folks? Are we going to talk about Westworld at all? Because I watched the first episode of season 2, and I am already exhausted.
I'm 2 episodes in, and like I said, Katie has a different way of experiencing these same shows and movies, and
she's very forgiving.
She's very forgiving.
Yeah.
But even still, Katie and I were sitting there watching episode 2, season 2, Westworld, and there were several moments where she turned to me and said, "Really? What the fuck? What are they even fucking doing?"
Yeah, I know. Well, here's the thing: is that, you know, after that botched first season that was originally supposed to be a mini-series that got re-engineered into a whole to-do and everything, you know, when to make it the first season of an ongoing series, so that to keep, like, literally Thandie Newton's character in a room the whole first season, because like her arc goes into other places, so we'll just gotta basically put pause on her for a season so that she can come back. And here's what I was hoping. I was hoping for a major level set in episode 1, where they're like, we did the best we could, given the fact we had to take a mini-series and turn it into the first season of an ongoing series in season 1. We're sorry, you guys, but here's what we're going to do. Total level set, new characters, circumstances, things. We had time to actually, like, write it and then shoot it this time, and so as a result, and instead, all we did in the first episode, like the worst like first episodes of Game of Thrones seasons, is it's like, let's check back in with everyone and see where they are, right where we left them, and then they're all going to start walking towards their destinations, and I'm like, what the fuck?
See, it's funny you should say that, because
it just felt like episode 11 of season 1.
By the end of episode 2 of season 2 of Westworld, it's very clear that the message, the successful things which Jonathan Nolan took away from the first season were, you know what people love? People love multiple timelines. People love being told that they're looking for a mysterious something. Season 1, 2 congruent multiple timelines.
Yes.
And The Maze.
Yes.
Season 2, at least 3 congruent multiple timelines and the pearly gates.
There we
So
go.
who fucking knows?
How-
We'll just keep coming up with.
Do we want to make bets on how long it takes for HBO to just say, "Ah, fuck it," and then have like a White Walker just walk in on Westworld?
I mean, it may as well, because
as
at some point you have to realize, like, you can't just, you as the writer can't just continue writing episodes of, well, I'm playing a game you're not playing.
Yeah.
That's the
basically
entirety.
Well, and that's the thing that sucks. That's the thing that sucks is after seeing how the storytelling took place in the first season, this is the game. Like, watching now this first episode, it's not. We have a great. We've come up with a fantastic story to tell for season 2. It's instead, we're gonna keep you thinking you're watching a TV show for 3, maybe 4 episodes before we spring our big season 2 twist on everybody. That's what they're doing. Like, all of season 1 was spinning wheels, keeping balls in the air so that they could wait to spring their big twist on us. So everything, it's like, what's his name? The guy we found out anyway. It's like, he found out he's a robot, and then he's like sick, so he's got to inject himself with something. It's just one little it'll be one little nonsensical MacGuffin after another to literally fill out episodes of television.
Correct.
Until they can then spring so that in all of the 90% fucking nonsense 1% substance, the 1% substance is going to be subtle things, mysteries they're going to drop in to tee us up for whatever the reveal is going to be. I was like, I don't fucking care. Like, I don't want to watch any of this. That's not storytelling. That's not a show. That is not what that is. Stop. Don't be a show anymore.
So that said, if anybody does want us to actually do Westworld recaps, let us know, please, so that we can prepare ourselves to slog through this fucking show.
Well, it came down to like literally last night, because I watched the first episode. We ended up not talking about it, and last night I was like, I think I'm supposed to talk about Westworld on the podcast tomorrow. And turned to Karen and I said, I think I'm supposed to watch episode 2. And she was like, well, we can watch it if you want. And I was like, no, I don't have it in me.
Yeah.
I don't have it in me.
Yeah, I don't have the spiritual reserves to do something to deliberately bum myself out on a regular basis.
You need to recover, man. You're sick.
Yeah.
You need to get better.
It was actually the thought of Westworld that made him sick in the first place.
I believe it.
Might have been.
Let's go ahead and wrap this up. That was fantastic. Kyle.
Hey, I'm at Mr. Kyle Bogart on the most sensual Instagram account on the internet.
I am at Cliff Bogart on an Instagram account.
I am at a Supersonic Man on Instagram, Twitter, and etc.
You can find Chase at Chase504, and you can find me at Armin Hoyce. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching and listening. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know if we should be talking about Westworld, and follow along the vlog for more of Armin's Fake Regionals 2018. Later, everybody.
Later.